Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're talking about Yabanius's Pickle Factory and the new Yaba's Pickle card. And so within 24 hours from the time of recording, 21 hours, but by the time I post it, it'll be probably just a few hours. This card will be available. It's a new, promo card that's brand new to Splinterlands, and it's pretty exciting for a variety of reasons. I want to talk about what my action plan is with respect to this and how it's affecting my finances here today. So if that sounds interesting, stick around, stay tuned. Otherwise, check out the next video. So let's have a quick conversation about what it is and why I want it, but then let's move quickly into the conversation about my action plan for this card. Yabanius's Pickle, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we've talked about it. It's a non-attacking monster for 4 mana. This is very desirable mana. For it to be under 4 means it's playable in Little League. That makes it versatile and applicable to almost maybe literally every single battle that's going to include water. And it is a water splinter card, so therefore you're restricted in that sense. But for what it's offering and for how functional it'll be and how versatile it will be, I really think this is helpful. A non-attacking monster can be weapon trained. I like that. It's got slow, which is so good because it increases your accuracy as it reduces the enemy's speed. Shield makes it more resilient, and dodge. So this card looks great. I think it's going to serve a significant purpose. There's not a lot of non-attacking monsters in the modern meta currently. And I expect there to be more weapons trainers that will come out in Conclave, or at least in the next set or with the promos. I think weapon train, we haven't seen the last of it. And so I want non-attacking monsters. And for 4 mana, I like it. So I want it. And I'm positioning myself to get it. And one of the pieces that I want to sort of articulate here that I'll just state right now is I actually think, based on how this is being sold, that it is a no-brainer that you would buy it if you have any staked SPS. And in fact, it might be arguable, and let's explore this conversation as we move forward in the video, it might be arguable that you should stake more SPS to acquire more of this card because it's that profitable. Let's talk about it. Okay, so we talked about its effectiveness, its usefulness inside the game. We could go further. I could give more examples of partnerships on the blue team or maybe with Dragon that might be really valuable, but I don't want to go there. I just want to say I like it and I want it. Now, as we look at the general sale in phase 1 at least, and there will be different phases to the sale, there's also going to be an auction. There's going to be an auction for the gold foil arcanes as well as the black foil arcanes. And those are interesting, but those are not relevant to today's conversation. My plan has been, as I look at this, I got excited and I staked another 140,000 SPS because I want to be able to maximize my number of pickles that I can purchase, because I really believe for the cost, we're talking a very worthwhile card. Check this out. For 30 glorious days, you can grab Yaba's Pickle for a price even the Conclave Arcana can't suppress, 150 DEC or credits. How many can you buy? That depends on the SPS you've staked. And the stake snapshot is happening in 21 hours. And so my apologies if I implied that this sale will begin right away. This is the snapshot. So however much SPS you have staked at this moment, when this clock runs out, is how many you will be able to purchase. Me currently, that means 650 pickles. And then on the 24th, the sale will begin. Every 1,000 SPS staked will equal 1 pickle. Simple math, complicated motions. Want to max it out, combine 400 copies, and nothing says battlefield dominance like a robe wrapped pickle with absolutely no weapon. Good one. Each card has 2% chance to be gold foil. So that's pretty cool. That's my first point. I actually think that's, this is not unusual. This is normal for cards to turn. The percentage here is appropriate. But just if you start to recognize, you could do math on how much SPS is staked. You could begin to explore how much DEC is liquid in accounts. My belief would be that unless fresh money is coming into the game, this card is actually going to be less printed than you might imagine. And I think it's a good card, utility's there, but then it's also probably going to be more scarce than it ought to be. And ought to be gets wrapped up in not just its functionality, but also, for instance, its price point. When we talk about this, we talk about 150 DEC per card. We're talking, even at peg value, that's a 15 cent purchase. Now, if we come over to to the promo section of the marketplace just to explore where that might leave us. I think it's going to be some interesting takeaways. So let's look Modern League only, because Modern definitely has a distinct advantage in terms of extra return value from its functionality in the Modern League and greater desirability from a rental standpoint because there's less supply, and all that leads to higher prices. And so when we look at this, we've got a floor on the commons of 18. Is that right? Let's look at this. Let's just click on comments. Actually, I think that is right. Is that literally the only common? Wow. And frankly, Mana Warden, I don't love this card. I love that it has shield. We won't beat a dead horse with poor Mana Warden who takes so much flack. But I don't love this card. And then, it's hard to draw comparables, but man, the print rate on that 84,000 as compared to, for instance, the more recent ones that are like Keeling Gains, I was looking, which is a rare, 40,000 BCX on Keeling Gains. And so interesting. I don't know why so many more. I mean, maybe people were trying to max it out and they needed more, but frankly, you don't need to max. Anyways, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. In terms of supply, I wonder how much liquid DEC is available to us as a community. I wonder how much that liquid DEC it partners up with the big SPS staked wallets. And, frankly, as probably one of the top 300 investors in the game, which sounds like, an astonishing number, but, there's probably really only 1,000 people that have invested meaningfully in the game. As the top 30% investor in the game, I am only going to be able to buy 650, and I will buy 650. And so I just wonder what the supply is going to look like. Is it going to be like Mana Warden? Maybe it's going to be more like a 40,000, 50,000 print rate. Now, the Pickle is pretty interesting for a lot of reasons, like I said, from a useful standpoint. Plus, there's this piece of, which I'm particularly excited about, you're going to get some gold foils, which have that greater value. And those prices are pretty interesting too. If we looked at even the Mana Warden as an example, and we go gold, and I think Pickle is going to be distinctly better than Mana Warden. But there you go, you're at a $4 price point on the gold foils. And so I did the math at 2% for me to mint 650. I'm going to pull 13 of the goldies and maybe more. And so that's probably flip money that'll return back to my DEC pool. So that's interesting too, because, if we said $3 times per gold foil times 13, that's $39 back from the DEC that I'm gonna have to pay towards this thing. So that's like piece number one. I want the card as piece number one. Piece number two is my gold foils can be sold back for DEC profit to restore some of the DEC payout that I'm putting out to get the card in the first place. And the shining jewel that we'll finish with here is the idea that there is a 0.025% chance that I'll drop a black foil. And that is a game changer, right? Like that is that going to be a $150 card, a $200 card? I think probably closer to 200. Now I know that the black foils from Conclave are in the low end, $120. There's 3 copies right there, 125, 123, 119. And I know on Ahonex, by the way, they've been selling sometimes for like 100 for the black foil commons. All that said, I think Yaba's Pickle goes into a different league. Maybe we're in that closer to 140 to 200 range for some of these comments. Like, look, these ones are already, there's a comment for 170. There's a comment for 175. Is Pickle as good as Caravan Guard? I don't know. Maybe not. They're different cards. Certainly Caravan Guard is very, very powerful. But Pickle's good. So like, regardless of whether you imagine a black foil is going to be $150 or $120, this little piece has to feed into your thought around actioning this moment. And so I think 15 cents is a steal of a deal. I actually think this represents essentially a thank you to SPS stakeholders, because this price point isn't priced in a way where this card is like, if you're really paying significantly for it. The significant cost associated with the Urbanis's Pickle is actually the stake expectations. So you need to stake 1,000 per, or I've got 650,000 staked SPS in order to pull the 650 that I plan to buy. That is, you know, a US dollar valuation of over $6,000. So that's the financial labor associated with the Pickle. It's not primarily the 150 DEC, which is practically nothing. And so what my argument here is, and I'll wrap with this, is that this card is good and you should want it for that reason alone. Two, if you already have the SPS staked, I think this is a reward in some sense for having staked. That's part of why I wanted to stake more, because I actually think it's priced in a way that is advantageous to stakers, or it gives me one more positive reason for staking. And then I guess three, I actually think the odds associated with gold foils in particular, and the moonshot possibility of pulling a black, makes ripping this a no-brainer. If you have SPS staked, buying however many you can makes sense to me. I actually think the card is worth it, but then I also think the other foil options are possible, and you just shouldn't. I won't ignore that possibility. If I got a black of the Yaba's Pickle, and if it sold for $150, if it sold for $120, that's going to meaningfully calculate into my acquisition of a brand new promo card. So again, it's just essentially a thank you. It's an icing on the cake for staking a token SPS, which I already want to stake and I already want to grow, and which, by the way, is priced below that penny, where I'm happy to keep acquiring. And so, yeah, about 140,000 more SPS. I'm positioning myself with some DEC. We're going to buy 100,000 DEC worth of pickles, and we are going to sell the gold foils, and we are going to probably sell a black foil if we rip one. Having said that, man, I love the black foils too, so who knows if I would convince myself to or not. And yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be practically a free card after we subtract gold foils from it. Like, because again, let's just show you the math. If I can buy 650 of these cards and they each cost 150 DEC, that's $97. But then if I go 650 times 0.02, which is the 2% drop rate on each of the cards, then I should get 13 of the gold foils. Plus, usually you end up getting more. But like if I was to get 13 and they were to sell at $3.50, which is the price point that the Mana Warden is currently selling at, we're already at $45.50. So half my investment cost probably is going to be recouped from gold foils I'm likely to rip. And if I got 20 gold foils instead, which is not entirely right? Like I'm practically free on the Pickle. And then if you rip that black foil, you win. The game over, you've won. And so for all those reasons, man, I'm particularly hyped about it. I think it's a good card, and I think the mechanisms associated with how it's being sold are interesting, and the dynamics are advantageous to me. So I want to action this, and I thought I'd make a video because I wanted to articulate these thoughts for you as well. I think if you believe in Splinterlands, and if you have enjoyed this game over the last years, and you're excited about where we are and where we're aiming, that now is an amazing time to acquire SPS below a penny, stake it, and acquire icing on the cake rewards like Yabanis' Pickle. And I do think ultimately there's an interesting separate conversation around the gold foil arcane auction, as well as the black foil arcane auction. But those are separate conversations for a separate day. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this one. Have an amazing day. God bless.